Good afternoon and welcome to Witter Rugby Field here on the campus of the University of California, where today the Wildcats from Central Washington University will bring an undefeated record to face off against the 17-2 hosts, California Golden Bears. Last week, a couple of exciting quarterfinal matches where the Central Washington played against Utah and barely beat the Utes 25-24. Meanwhile, California decimated the host UCLA Bruins in their own backyard 41-0 and set up this match today, a chance to go to the national championship final. I'm Brian Hightower, and I'll be joined today by Colin Hawley, a former Cal Golden Bear himself and national team player. Colin, you've played on this field a bunch. Chance to go to the final once again for Cal. What do they have to do to realize that important destiny?
Cal cannot get ahead of themselves today. They're facing a very impressive Central Washington team, undefeated for a reason. They have to play this semifinal match, not worry about a final just yet.
Well, there you have it, folks. When we come back, we'll get ready for the kickoff here at Witter Rugby Field. And welcome back to Witter Rugby Field on the beautiful campus of the University of California. Brian Hightower alongside Colin Hawley. And Colin, two very good teams are going to face up today. Let's take a look at how they got here. First of all, you had Dartmouth facing off against Clemson in Pool 1. Pool 2, Texas and Notre Dame. Pool 3, UCLA, Oklahoma, and Utah played Air Force. And if you look down the brackets last week, UCLA and Cal, Utah versus Central Washington, and here we are in Strawberry Canyon at the University of California, about to face off for a chance to go to the national championship. Let's take a look at this Central Washington lineup, and Colin, a pretty good side. Who you got to look out for today if you're Cal?
I think if you're looking at this lineup here, you got Scott Dean leading the back at 15, but Tanner Barnes is in the centers. He's a powerful runner, and also Josh Bauer on the wing. He's very, very dangerous. He's the one who slotted the 40-meter penalty goal against Utah to seal the game for him last week.
All right, and take a look at Cal's lineup, a star-studded lineup with some issues this year, keeping the same 15 on the field. Who do you look for today to have a big game for Cal?
Obviously look for Seamus Kelly, the captain, leading from the front. He's got to have a big game here today in the backs. Also, I think Webb at number 10 is going to have a huge impact on this game. He's got to be the commander. He's got to be the link between the backs and the forwards, really get this game going forward. And on the front foot, the Cal Bears coming out the gate.
Well, we're getting ready for the teams to run out onto the pitch. And Colin, we took a look at the lineups as the PA announcer welcomes the Central Washington team onto the field. Colin, what do these teams have to do specifically? If you're Central Washington, how do you stay close against this vaunted California side?
You just can't be a victim to the moment, really. You're here at Witter Rugby Field for the first time. You're undefeated. Your nerves have to be going crazy right now. Stay centered. This is just a rugby game. They have to stick to their patterns that has kept them undefeated all season up to this point.
And as we saw the last time we were here, Colin, Cal putting some balls on the ground, making some mistakes, and it's not as though they haven't been beat this year. Cal has to come in, and they've got to maintain their confidence early. What do you got to do specifically if you're Cal?
There's a lot of motion for these Cal players to get ready to run on here. Some of these seniors last time on Witter Rugby Field. They have to check that emotion at the gate when they run in right now and make sure they stick to the game plan and the pattern that's got them to championships in the past.
Over the PA, the traditional O Fortuna begins to play.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the men in the blue and gold hoops running onto the field, and for the last time, Seamus Kelly leads from the front. An emotional day for Seamus Kelly. He's been keeping it in check pretty well. An ice-cold approach to this game. What's it mean for him to be on this field for the last time?
Look at these guys' eyes. They're all steely-eyed. They're all business coming out the gate. Seamus Kelly is here to lead his team to the front as a captain and really put his mark on this game and get him into the final.
A lot of emotion in this game. But first of all, we're going to lay off here and listen to the national anthem. Getting ready for the kickoff here at the University of California, the semifinal of the Varsity Cup National Championship. California Golden Bears facing off against Central Washington, the Wildcats in white. They come to this field with an undefeated record. With the whistle today, Aruna Ranawira, accomplished referee. And the emotions run high. How important are these first few minutes, Colin Hawley?
You got to set the tone for the match. This kickoff's really coming out the gate. You got to make sure you got to push forward and get a good hit in to start the game. That really is what sets off the game, is the initial 5 minutes. Really who's going to play to win.
And the kick from halfway. We are underway here in Strawberry Canyon. First mistake by the Wildcats. The ball goes straight into touch.
Yeah, saying, Brian, you got to make sure you rise to the moment here. Don't let your emotions get to you. There's the first mental mistake by Central Washington.
We've got a scrum at halfway. With the feed, the senior out of Hong Kong via Brentwood College in Canada, Paul Bosco. An important first scrum. Well, advantage goes to Central Washington. They're able to wheel that Cal scrum.
Look out for that, Brian. Central Washington established their dominance in the scrum early on here. Might be a problem for the Bears.
Well, Central Washington has some pretty big units up front. Clint Lemkus wearing the #1 tight head jersey, Cape Town, South Africa born. And Corbin Lindell, 6'2", 230, is no pushover either. Aruna Ranawira resets the scrum. He gives it back to Cal. Looked like at first he had signaled the ball going over to Central Washington, but Cal gets the feed once again. Backs are split. Seamus Kelly on the left side. Tionda Nation with a rumble. Cal last week started out with a few rumbles in the forwards. A well-placed chip kick by Russell Webb. And that's going to pin Central Washington deep inside their own territory. And I think Cal's got to like the start so far.
You got to watch for the rotation of the deep three for Central Washington. Webb is a great kicker. He can place the ball anywhere. He sees space in the back, he'll pin you down in your own end, and you'll be lucky to get out of there.
The throw to Central Washington. Looks like they've won the ball, but a sloppy throw in. You got to be clinical down here deep in your own end. Central Washington will likely boot this one into touch. From the back, ball gets kicked out by #10. That's the fly half, Bijan Gambari.
Oh, Cal's going to like this setup right inside their 22, green territory. Look for a great strike move coming off this line out here.
And take a look at that assistant referee's flag there. You can tell the wind blowing from our right to left. It's really had an impact in the last few games we've been here, Colin. What kind of impact is the wind going to have today, do you think?
You got to take advantage of the line-out throws here. Set piece is going to have some trouble, but looks like Tanner nailed the throw off the top.
Russell Webb out to Anthony Saliber. Saliber, the 6'5" sophomore. Oh, and Jake Anderson finds a seam straight off the bat into Anderson's hands.
Anderson,
Pay dirt.
Oh, it's just a brilliant cutout pass by Seamus Kelly to Anderson. Anderson sells the dummy back inside and gets Chandler stopped in his tracks in his defensive line, and he just has all green going towards the try zone.
Last we were here in February, Jake Anderson on the sidelines had a bit of a shoulder injury, was unavailable. All-American for Cal, and you know, this team's dotted with All-Americans, Colin, but how big is an impact does a guy like Anderson bring back to Cal?
At the number 15, you really got to be the marshal of the deep three. He's an excellent player. He not only can score some tries, but he also convert afterwards while he's lining up to take the kick here. He brings a lot of experience and cool-headedness onto the pitch, especially with Harry Adolphus slotting into the wing. for an injured Josh Tucker.
Well struck by Anderson. It's through. Try converted. So Anderson responsible for the first 7 points in this California team. 7-0. 5 minutes in to this contest. And Colin, one of the things that we noticed, Kelly with the ball in hand, you kind of got to respect Seamus Kelly with the ball. So you got to defend him, and sometimes that just opens up gaps around him. Is that what you saw?
I'm sure Tony Pacheco, the coach of Central Washington, said, stop Seamus Kelly. And so it looked like defense keyed off on him and opened up some room for Anderson.
Good job by Cal to keep the ball in. Bosco at the back. Up and under. Into the hands of Central Washington. Scott Dean. Wide pass, cut out to Chandler Jenkins, but it doesn't find its intended target. And now Central Washington with some pressure once again. Nelson digs the ball out. A little bit of a rumble from the back. Central needs to calm things down.
Look for Bijan to kick this in the touch as soon as they get a good platform.
Ball knocked on by Central Washington, and
oh, Brian, that's not what you want, having a knock on again within your own 22. You want to get that ball and kick it to touch as early as possible. The more chances Cal gets in their territory, the worse off Central Washington is going to be.
Scrum sets. Bosco with the feed. Dug out by Donation. Into Webb. To Saliber. Looks like he had a gap. Webb. Anderson. Adolphus in the corner. Try.
Into the corner.
Try. Adolphus, California.
What you saw there is Battaglia coming off from that weak side wing and really hitting a gap, getting in behind the Central Washington defense. You have a great overlap of the Cal attack, really pushed into the end for Harry Adolphus to score in the corner. Again, Jake Anderson, a big part of that try, pinning the last defender and getting to the hands of Harry Adolphus, who ended up taking it over the line in the corner.
Some really unselfish play from Cal there to just put the ball into the right hands and let the ball do the work. I was mistaken. Battaglia had actually come in from the weak side wing and drawn some defense. Made that Central Washington defense stand up and be honest, and that left an overlap on the outside for Adolphus with a nice little finish. There's Anderson for the conversion, a difficult one from the left-hand corner. Well struck again by Anderson, and he is money.
What a beauty.
We saw him calling this morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, everyone else coffee in hand, kind of walking around. Anderson was out here putting the kicks in. Just that classic work ethic that's preached by Jack Clark and this workman-like Cal rugby team.
He was out here early in the morning getting in his kicks. When you have that responsibility, you got to get the practice in before the game.
Ball kept alive on the corner there. Everything going the way of California so far. Bosco, the up and under. Battaglia on the chase. Jenkins underneath.
Oh.
And a great take by Battaglia. He took the knock on. Lands in his hands. Ranawira.
That was amazing pressure from the kick from Bosco. Battaglia coming down on Chandler. Really feeling the pressure and having that ball bounce off his chest. Not what you want if you're Central Washington, but great pressure from the Cal Bears.
That's just a great piece of work by the right wing, Andrew Battaglia. Ranawira noticed a Central Washington player on the ground not rolling away, and the penalty goes the way of Cal. And like everything so far in this first 10 minutes, Colin, it's gone Cal's way.
Yeah, you got to watch out for mental mistakes here, Brian. Like I said in the beginning, if you're Central Washington, you really want to minimize your mistakes here early on. You know, you get too far in the hole against a good Cal team, it's going to be hard to dig your way out of it.
Looks like the scrum half, number 9, Andrew Nelson for Central Washington, getting some attention over on the field. A little bit of blood coming from the forehead. Trainer puts a little tape on it.
That's the rugby way, right?
Yep, blood is contained, play on. Adolphus with the left-footed kick. You know, one of the weapons that they bring with Adolphus, he's been covering a lot of positions. You know, the story of Cal's year so far has been injuries. 5 players that were here in February, Colin, when we called our last match, not available. Some catastrophic injuries for Cal have been the story, and they've really been resilient. And one of the reasons they've been successful is guys like Harry Adolphus who can come in and play multiple positions.
All skills, all players, Brian. That's the Cal mantra.
Tanner Barnes with a boot, hangs up high into the wind, and that's Anderson underneath, confidently. The up and under. Players are onside by Anderson. Oh, and Ranawira says it's knocked forward, and I'm not sure that went forward or not, but it went forward enough. Scott Dean can't find the handle, and so you got the wind, you got a little bit of sun in your face, and you got some nerves right now. Once again, Cal on the march.
Great up and under by Jake Anderson there, really putting Dean under pressure early. It's hard to target that thing when it's moving around with a little bit of wind in the air, Brian.
A little bit of a swirling wind here in Strawberry Canyon. Some of the beautiful old growth trees that surround this historic field. The Doc Hudson Field House, from our vantage point, has become a monument in California rugby. Really the house that Jack built, a notorious, now Hall of Fame coach, Jack Clark, who leads this squad. A penalty, barging in on Clint Lemkus, the South African prop wearing the number 1 for Central Washington. And this should be, the way we've seen Anderson kick, they're going to tee this one up, and this should be well within his reach. Talk about this coaching staff for the California Golden Bears a little bit. Colin, you got, of course, Tom Billups, who's been here for years, the right-hand man for Coach Jack Clark, and both of them national team coaches, and they've just added Mike McDonald. Tell us a little bit about Big Mac.
Big Mac and I were at the 2011 World Cup together. We became the most capped Eagle in U.S. history. He's an amazing wealth of knowledge that's been playing overseas for a very long period of time. He had a great career here at Cal as well, but he brings a lot of expertise in the scrum and forward play that you would not find anywhere else.
And Anderson is on fire today.
Penalty goal, Anderson.
Just seems like the Cal Bears are making all the right moves here, Brian. Central Washington, a few early on mental mistakes is costing them points.
Well, wind in your face and a juggernaut of a rugby team grinding your way, and Central Washington has to do something to get back into this game. Alec Gletzer with the take. Bosco from the back, looks for Russell Webb. Nope, check that. He's got the foot of Anderson.
Kept it in field, Brian. This is a chance for a counterattack.
Scott Dean, he goes out to Bauer, Josh Bauer. And a great open field tackle there by Seamus Kelly. Nelson digs it out from the back. He goes to Bijan Gambari. Gambari puts in the kick. It doesn't go his way, but certainly one that could have been chased down by Chandler Jenkins. Instead, finds the hands of Jake Anderson. Anderson with a great little kick to the other side. Vili Tolutau cannot come up with the handle, and once again, the field position play that Cal's put in so far has been absolutely clinical.
It's been a kicking game battle that Cal's been winning. Bijan was trying to put that ball into the corner, got a missed kick, and it was easy counter kick for Cal to make into the corner, and now they're pinned back to their 22 again.
Central with the throw in. Last one didn't go their way, and stolen off the top by Cal. Bosco, Webb, has Saliber. Seamus Kelly draws 4 defenders and splits them like a Ginsu knife. Seamus Kelly.
That's what you get.
Unbelievable. Beats 5 defenders. Colin Hawley, you've done plays like that before, I'm sure. Tell me how he does it.
Central is so worried about Seamus. They drifted all the defenders onto him, drifting too hard. Where one step back from Seamus, he found a gap and went right up the middle and shaking the last defender to get under the post. A great diving try from famous Seamus.
Putting an exclamation point as the punctuation mark on his Cal rugby career here at Witter Rugby Field.
It's really great for his last game here on Witter to get under the sticks and have a great try like that. Looks to be going Cal's way right now.
I mean, you know,
Conversion. Anderson,
it's bad
California.
enough when you have an accomplished Cal side in front of you and some great players, but when one guy can make 6 miss, it makes your day a long affair.
Pretty impressive, and I'm sure Tony's had a word about Seamus, and everybody's keying off him and his ability to break open a game, but Central has to stick to their systems. They can't drift that hard. Leaves the inside open.
Well, it looks like so far Central's been a little out of sorts, and I think that they do need to go back to basics. Get the defensive structure right. Start with the little things. Have something successful that they can build on. And right now, Cal is dealing to them pretty significantly.
A few of those tries, Jake's dummy inside, getting under the sticks. You know, it's just a little hesitation on the defense, I think. A little frantic defensive systems. They need to calm it down, really start putting some Cal players on the turf.
Well, this isn't how Central Washington's efforts want to be remembered by head coach Tony Pacheco.
Looks like this could be something here for Central.
Yeah, finally a penalty going Central Washington's way. And it's a kickable penalty, but Colin, when you're down 24-0 in the first 15 minutes, you got to score tries, and that's what Central Washington is trying to do. They'll go back to the line out. The first 2 throws have not gone their way. One went badly onto the ground, and the other one just stolen. This one goes the Wildcats' way. Andrew Nelson looking for a ball off the back. Clint Lemkus tries to get a rumble going. Alec Gletzer on the tackle. Forwards lining up.
Steep line set by the back line here for Central.
That's a knock on. Looked like it was a knock on. Looked like Ranawira had his hand out, but then pulled it back. Central Washington still rumbling forward. They've got an opportunity to use some backs out wide. Jacob Bates goes across in a try. Finally, something's gone Central Washington's way, and it goes through the hands of Jacob Bates, wearing the number 6 blindside flanker.
That's exactly what Central needed to do. They won the line out, kept it tight. They have a big forward pack. They were just going pick and go off the fringe, making Cal front up and stop their big forwards, driving over the line. They really retained possession. They looked like they lost it there for a second, but I think he regathered.
Well, and if you're Central Washington, something had to go right, and it had to happen quickly instead of this game becoming a runaway.
You gotta watch out now. Central Washington getting under the sticks. Now they've got their tails up, got a little confidence behind their game plan.
Well, and just to know that you can score against this Cal side, perhaps a little bit of the confidence that they need, and maybe to take a deep breath, set their defense, get some confidence, and remember that they are a good rugby side. They're undefeated on the year, and there's a reason why that's the case.
Josh Bauer putting over the kick. He was the one who sealed the kick against Utah, hitting a 40-meter penalty to win the game.
So 24-7, California in the lead. Almost 20 minutes gone from this first half. Again, you're watching the Varsity Cup National Championship Semifinal here at Witter Rugby Field on the campus of the University of California. Harry Adolphus set for the restart. The big left foot.
Deep kick here, Brian.
That's Vili Tolutau. Dummy pass, the cutout goes to Jacob Bates. He's the try scorer. Nelson, he's got Lemkus, the big South African forward. Instead he goes to the back. Bijan Gambari tries to find a dead space on the field into the able and confident hands of Jake Anderson. He spins for a few. He'll eat this one. They're trying to hold him up on the Central Washington side. Right below us, the action. Paul Bosco out to Tion Donation. Bosco digs again. He goes blindside. Gets gobbled up by a few defenders, but Central Washington off their feet.
Looks like Cal has an overlap on the right side. They just get this ball out of the mess of the ruck.
Number 5, the freshman, Tomas Zerbino, Montevideo, Uruguay. Big freshman. Kind of got puppy feet, really, still. a project in the making. A lot of potential on this team.
I think again on that passage of play, Bijan wanted to put that ball into the corner. You got a bad wind coming from the west, coming in the east in their face, and he's just not getting the distance that he wants from that kick. It's really putting their team under pressure.
Yeah, it looks like he's kind of miskicked those last couple options out of the hand. You can kind of hear it the way his foot hits the ball. He's only hitting it half as hard as he wants to.
A little bit of a slap.
And Cal's making him pay. So Jake Anderson lines up for his second penalty kick on the day. And he angles it in with the wind. Beautiful stroke by Jake Anderson, and he is automatic today.
That is just pure class. Great smooth strike through the ball, straight through the uprights. Jake is really hitting his groove right now.
Well, just like that, Cal gives up a try, but comes right back. Andrew Nelson calls out the kick. He goes deep this time. Battaglia underneath it. Spins it wide. Hands is the call. Webb. Salibert. Across the 22. He feeds it to Adolphus. A nice little run of play. Seamus Kelly there to clean up. Bosco out to Gletzer. Gletzer takes a big hit by Lemkes. Still stays on his feet though. Good balance. The cutout pass. Anderson goes wide. Held up, numbers there by Cal. Into the hands of Battaglia. He takes another big hit, keeps his feet though. Central Washington looks like they've brought the shoulders today. Gletzer spins the ball back. Bosco digs it out.
Look for Webb to find a corner here.
Oh, and once again, an absolutely clinical touch-finding kick out of the hand.
Central Washington did a better job on defense there, really stopping the Cal attack, deciding to go for it off that kickoff. But Webb finding space in behind. That deep three rotation for Central Washington needs to communicate and stop that kick.
You know, it looks like Cal pretty content to run through some phases. Central Washington's come up and given some pretty good licks, but Cal's managed to stay on their feet, keep their feet moving, and grind up some hard yards.
Turnover ball here.
Things not going well in the line out for Central Washington. The miss pass behind the back of Kelly goes to Salibert. Rumble forward. Vrame. Oh, Webb lays down a perfect kick. And Adolphus gets in for his second try, and what a beautiful piece of vision by Russell Webb.
Webb just having Harry with him on the outside. A 2-on-2 scenario. He decides to chip over the top. Webb can put it anywhere on the foot, right over the top. There was no fullback back covering over to stop the kick. Harry just had to gather it in the try zone and dot it down.
What a classy piece of skill work by Russell Webb. In that vision, so often you'll see a player try to use the hands, send their support runner straight into contact with that pass, and instead Webb just sees the gap behind the Central Washington defense, and it's almost as though him and Adolphus on the same page. Adolphus knew it was coming, scoops the ball up, and is in for his second try.
Webb's been having a great game reading the deep three. I feel like Central Washington's wings and fullback need to get on the same page and covering the space in behind. Webb's been having too easy of a time finding the corners, and right there having just an easy chip kick through.
And once again, Anderson is flawless off the ground today. 34-7. Well, Jack Clark's got to like what he sees so far from Russell Webb. A bit of an inconsistent year, according to the head coach.
I think he's really starting to hit his stride here, playing to the system, really finding the space and painting the corners. That's what you need to do to be consistent and really pin down a team like Central Washington.
Andrew Nelson kicks off again, straight into the wheelhouse of the Golden Bears. They're happy to start with a ruck from the 22. Looked like a box kick was going to come. Instead, it's the high up and under by Jake Anderson. Keeps the ball in play. Anderson tries, sorry, that's Nelson trying to field it for Central Washington. He bobbles it. And Central Washington's got to keep playing rugby, got to keep getting some phases going forward. Cal the position over the ball, but the ruck goes the way of Central Washington.
Central sick into a pick and go in the middle of the field here. They need to let it go.
Nelson out to Bijan, Gambari, Anderson wisely puts it into touch. And while you got the win, you might as well use it, Colin.
Might as well use it, but if I was Bijan, I would stop. Oh, we're going quick on the sideline here.
Scott Dean, the fullback, quick throw in. There's Siemens at the back. Aladdin Shermer, he's got the dish back inside. Nice little play out of the hand in the contact area by Central Washington. They've got some skills. They've got to use their confidence here. Tanner Barnes, he's a load. Alec Gletzer puts him on the ground.
Central can get this ball to the right. They have numbers.
Hobie Sisk wearing the number 4. Takes a little bit of a rumble. Going backwards, though. This ball needs to be set up. Nice. Turning something in out of nothing is Josh Bauer. Central Washington gobbling up some yards. Can they keep the ball? It comes spilling out. And looks like I thought Cal had turned it over, but nope. Siemens takes a poke. Down to the 22 goes Central Washington. Cal retreats, gets onside. Gambari. Nice little move by Gambari, but he's got a bunch of defenders in front of him and no support. Nelson, Tanner Barnes, looking for holes. Lemkus. And a penalty. Holding on in the tackle.
That was a great job by Paul Bosco, really getting over to the defender and holding on to that ball. He was getting wrenched off by a Central Washington player, but he stuck his ground over the base of the ball. He got the penalty.
You gotta love when your scrum half is tangling it up with some forwards from the opposition, holding them up, making them make mistakes.
You want a bit of that from your 9, being able to rough it up there with the forwards. Harry Adolphus kicking through, great kick, all the way past the halfway. Cal's really taking advantage of this wind at their back.
And remember, coming up this summer, Nike California Varsity Rugby Camp for boys ages 14 to 18 on July 28th and boys ages 9 to 14 on August 2nd. Go to calbears.com/camps. Tanner Moore with the throw. Going up high for the ball. Tion Donation. Bosco with a run. He's got a gap. Gletzer outside of him. Finds support. Scott Walsh takes a rumble.
Cal has him on the rack on the right.
Numbers on the right-hand side. Cal looking to send that ball out. Adolphus on the left side. Wants a blind pass. Doesn't get it. Russell Webb out to the corner. Saliber. Seamus Kelly. Kelly dishes off to Anderson. Can he touch over the line? Good little piece of defense by Central Washington. And the try.
Battaglia in the corner.
Try, Battaglia, California.
Well, an amazing pass out of the tackle by Seamus Kelly. Looked like he was trying to find the line on his own, but instead dished out to Anderson. Anderson wrapped up early, and Battaglia picking up the scraps, Colin.
It all started from that line out. Paul Bosco giving the dummy, breaking through the middle, and just making Central Washington pay for rushing up on the outside. He found Tanner Moore, who brought it up the middle. They had numbers on the outside, and that's where you saw Seamus Kelly and Jake Anderson doing what they do best and getting into the corner.
Well, this is rare for Jake Anderson. We haven't seen him from the right-hand touch line all day long. But he's been money from the left. Well struck. And once again,
Conversion.
Absolutely
California.
pure class. That is champagne right there, Brian.
unbelievable.
Put him anywhere, he'll
Well,
stick it
remember
through
the
the post.
CRC Collegiate Rugby Championship coming back to Philadelphia, May 31st to June 1st, 2014. An exciting matchup on NBC Sports. And Nelson getting used to kicking off. He's done it way too frequently for Central Washington today.
You got to see how Central Washington's going to respond now, down by quite a bit, 41-7. They really need to get something going on the front foot here and in the half well.
Nelson, Campari finds Tanner Barnes. Now, looks like off the line out, the numbers were not matched. So free kick, and Lemkus, the tight head prop, calls for a scrum.
They've seen success here early on in the game, Brian. Let's see if they can get a good platform for a great strike move for their back line out wide. I would think you want to get the ball in the hands of Tanner in the centers and also Siemens and see if they can do some work on this Cal back line.
Well, you gotta like what the job that Saliber's done so far. He's a big unit, 6'5" in the centers, paired up with Seamus Kelly. He's really done a great job today on the defensive end as well as on the attacking side of the ball, Colin.
You got someone paired up with you with Seamus Kelly next to you. I'm sure he's talking and in his ear the entire game. Not a bad person to have next to you in the defensive line.
Yeah, just an instant confidence boost, right? I mean, you look over your outside shoulder and you see one of the most accomplished rugby players in California history. It's got to feel pretty good. It makes you want to step your game up.
And sometimes it does, Brian. Being with someone who puts you in a better opportunity to be successful is really important in this game here, especially someone coming into the centers, not really having a lot of experience there in a big game like this, semifinal.
Oh, Central Washington getting humbled in this first half, but you know, one of the things I've noticed, Colin, is that Cal has been committing far fewer mistakes, ball handling errors, than the last time we saw them play. What do you think is the reason why it's a cleaner effort today?
Talking to some of the guys, they're really honing in their focus and getting back to the game plan. Not as many 50-50s, not trying to be too flash with the play, just doing Cal systems.
Well, the wind, you can tell, has its effect on the ball. Going all the way back into the try zone. Classic mistake, a rookie mistake by Central Washington. In order for that ball to be a 22 dropout, it has to be touched down in the in-goal area, and instead it's just picked up and passed to another player for the 22. And since Ranawira never saw the touchdown, they don't get the 22-meter dropout. Instead, it is a scrum. Cal's ball, where the forward pass took place. Colin, unbelievable.
I was pretty confused. It looked like he picked the ball up and was just going to run for it, but he passed the ball forward looking for the 22, but you definitely have to dot that ball down, Brian. Another one of those mental mistakes, key mental mistakes in the first half that has put Central Washington in this hole that they're in.
Well, it just starts to pile up. Well, I think Ranawira also giving a penalty to Cal. I think there might have been some chatter from Central Washington to earn them a penalty. And now a line out to Cal. Tanner Moore throwing. Doesn't come off the top cleanly, but Cal still wins the ball nonetheless. Donation goes to work. Tanner Moore at the back. Bosco looking for the ball. Out to Russell Webb. Saliber takes a cut, draws two defenders. Bosco out to Webb. Webb finds Anderson. Anderson had Battaglia, can't get the ball away. Donation looking for space.
Whoa.
Wrong-footed, falls over. Cal still driving forward. Backs are split. They go left. Gletzer takes a dummy run, and Adolphus,
no.
he can't find the handle. But it's offsides against Central Washington. Webb, the quick tap, goes wide. Donation. And Tion.
Numbers out right. You got Seamus.
Brought down. Webb skips Kelly to Anderson. Easy money, 5 points.
Try. Anderson, California.
Now, this is one-way traffic here, Brian.
Well, you know, and it's not just what Cal is doing to Central Washington, it's what Central Washington is doing to Central Washington right now. Their own worst enemy, and sometimes when it rains, it pours.
The mental mistakes are just killing them. I mean, not being able to dot that ball down and getting that penalty on the try line. You just can't make those mistakes against a Cal team of this caliber.
Well, as Anderson lines up this conversion, when I talked to Tony Pacheco, the head coach of Central Washington earlier, he said one of the things that concerned him about their undefeated season, it was an accomplishment to be undefeated, but in their geographic area, it's so hard for them to get consistent high-level games. And so he was a little bit worried that the team really hadn't been tested, and boy, are they getting tested today.
This win may be a factor here in the first half. Hey, we got a pretty strong gust, so in terms of the kicking game, it's been pretty hard for Central Washington to get out of their own end.
Well, and with
Conversion.
Anderson being lights out the way he is, I mean, you can't make a mistake inside the half. Anderson's going to drill one over the crossbar.
This wind behind him, his range is probably about 50 meters plus. He can go for a penalty right about anywhere.
An absolute dissection going on right now by Cal. Cal catches the restart. Ball to Anderson. He'll go high. Battaglia on the chase. Should be a clean catch.
Oh, no.
And even the communication going wrong. Josh Bauer, though, finds some space in the midfield. Bauer goes to the ground. Nelson tries to dig it out. Pick and jam from Central Washington. Looked like Jacob Bates. Lemkus leans in to clean up the ruck. Nelson digs it out. Out to Gambari. Gambari, nice hands, drills it into the corner. Anderson calmly waiting for the ball. He'll field it and boot it straight into touch. It'll be a line out to Central Washington.
This is better play from Central. We got Bijan actually finding space, finally in the corner that he wanted. He got a good strike on the ball. It's hard when you got somebody like Jake Anderson right there at fullback, fielding the back, getting such good kicks into touch and counter kicking involved. But let's see if Central gets a good platform and a strike move to end this half well.
Well, the net gain was pretty much zero, though. When you look at where Central Washington had the ball before it left Gambari's hand, they really didn't gain a whole lot here. They need to go through some phases. Alec Gletzer disturbing the back of that line out. It's an overthrow, but Tanner Barnes cleans it up. Gambari with the ruck. Nelson goes to Lemkus. Lemkus lays it back. Ball knocked forward. Off to the races. Bosco finds Webb. Webb's got Donation. Check that. Vili Tolotau, the number 7. Donation took a big hit there. Donation still down. Gambari cleans it up. Jacob Bates. Looks like he could have popped the ball out of hand. Instead, he keeps it. Siemens. Tion Donation is still down. Vili Tolotau with the ball. Looks to go quickly, but instead grounds it. Maybe the option would have been to go quick here. Instead, looks like Nelson's going to set up for a kick into touch, and they'll go to their line out. Donation back up, thankfully.
You would think Central Washington would want to push that ball quickly coming to the end of the half, especially with a Cal player down in the backfield.
Well, it's good to see Donation pop back up to his feet. This Cal team has been struck by the injury bug, to say the least. Ball not straight. Gletzer picks it up. He's the trash man off the back. What a gift of a player that number 7 is for this Cal team. Looked like off the leg of Saliber. Nope. Accidental offsides, says Ranawira, so it'll be a penalty. The second's winding down here, and so far, every time Central has had an opportunity at a line-out, you almost wonder why they're going back to the line-out, Colin. Nothing has gone their way from that throw-in today.
They've had success with the scrum, but the line out with the wind coming, it's hard for the thrower. They're targeting the back of the line out. It's hard for the thrower to nail that.
Zeros on the clock. Remember that in rugby, the official time is on the wrist of the referee, and so it continues. Vili Toletau off the back, grinding for the line, and this is where they scored their first one. Big Clint Lemkes from South Africa has a little bit of a run. Central Washington knocking on the door. They got to be clinical. This is knock-on territory. Ball not coming out cleanly. Sometimes when it's jammed up in there and not coming out, the ball goes back to the team that was attacking, and Aruna Ranawira says that team is Central Washington. They'll get the put in. There's no time left on the clock, and you got to think right now this is the last phase of play that we'll see, Colin.
You really want Central Washington to get a try here if they're going to have any hope of coming back in the second half. They need something to bring their confidence up, to huddle the wagons at the halftime, and really come out storming to get back at this Cal Bear scoreline.
Off the back, that's Aladdin Shermer. He's bottled up by Gletzer. Gletzer's the everywhere man for this team. Andrew Nelson looks for the dig out of the back. Penalty against Cal. An opportunity to go quickly here, but Jacob Bates, instead of going forward, decides to wait. Tanner Barnes. You know he's got one thing on his mind, and that is going forward. He's going to take a rumble. You knew he would.
A little bit of white line fever coming in here.
And sometimes this is the one pass out of this area will spring a player for the try over the line. Ranawira's looking at it. He says it's held up by Cal. And instead, it's going to be halftime instead of a try. And just when the fortunes were starting to turn for Central Washington, Cal thwarts them once again. So at the half, it is California Golden Bears 48, the Wildcats from Central Washington 7. We'll be right back. Back here at Cal Witter Rugby Field, University of California, where the Golden Bears are leading the Central Washington Wildcats 48-7. You can see the breeze coming across the field as the well-managed hairdo of Colin Hawley, my partner, gets blown around a little bit, and I'm just using him for a windshield. Colin, so far we've seen an absolutely lopsided affair. How is Cal doing what it's doing?
They have obviously got the wind at their backs right now, Brian. It's a major factor in this game. Webb has been able to paint the corners with his kicks. Central's been having a hard time dealing with those kicks and being able to get out of their own end. With a wind like this in your face, you're not going to get a lot of distance on those kicks, so you really got to try to keep the ball in hand. But a lot of that's been Central Washington's mental mistakes dealing with those kicks.
Jake Anderson's been absolutely clinical. Every time he's teed the ball up, it has gone over the crossbar and between the uprights. Jake Anderson, I mean, he was injured earlier this year. He's come back. He's so polished right now. What do you think that's been a difference for the Cal Bears in this game? How important is Jake Anderson?
Jake is a pivotal player in this Cal team. He's leading from the back, a person at 15 really marshaling that deep three effort, especially in a game where you're trying to paint the corners and you have kicks back and forth to the counter attack and the kicking battle. He is a pivotal point in this Cal 48-7 score line right now.
And you've seen every time that the ball gets kicked to Anderson, he seems so composed and so relaxed. Now flip the switch over to the side of the field where the Central Washington Wildcats have been trying to manage what Cal has been throwing their way, and they have not been composed at all, and they have not really had a moment to breathe. How much of that is what Central Washington is doing? How much of that is the pressure that Cal is putting on them?
Well, you got Dean at the back at 15 for Central Washington. He had a knock-on with a kick coming his way. He had Chandler on the sideline not handling Bosco's box kick. Those kind of plays in the game really change the momentum. You can't manage those kicks. Cal gets another opportunity to score within their 22, and then you get a score line of 48-7 right now. They really have to do a better job of managing those kicks, communicating in the deep three, and finding the corners with the win at their back this half. You can see if they can take advantage of that.
Well, everything is going Cal's way, and remember, what's at stake here today is an opportunity to get into the National Championship Final next week in Salt Lake, and it looks like if things continue the way they are now, it'll be a rematch between the University of California and BYU. We still got a half of rugby to play. Come back and join us. California 48, Central Washington 7 at the half. They'll switch fields, and that means they'll lose the win. The kickoff, Harry Adolphus for Cal, wearing the 11 shirt. And off the boot, oh, it looked like it was off the foot of Vili Tolotau. Instead, he says knock on, and that would have been a nice little break. Good way to start the half for Central Washington. Instead, it's going to be a scrum to Cal.
I'm not so sure I agree with that call, Brian. Looked like he had that off his foot. That would have been a breakaway try for Vili. Sure, he would have been excited to get into the sticks.
So halftime, fields are switched. Central Washington see what they can do with the wind in this half. And their backs are against the wall. Scrum rotates though, and it'll be a put in to Central Washington. They've wheeled the scrum. Colin, if you're Central Washington, you're really under the gun. What do you say in your halftime huddle if you're Tony Pacheco?
What more do you got to lose? This could be your last game, last rugby game of the year. You really want to come out this second half and give it all you have.
And really, might as well just throw caution to the wind at this point. Andrew Nelson will feed the scrum.
Steep line set, you'd think Central Washington would really look to keep the ball in hand.
Yeah, I mean, with this wind, you kind of have to run from anywhere, and they're going to get the ball at the 22. They can't kick it straight into touch, so they're going to have to test the deep three. Jake Anderson's moved a little bit further over to the left-hand side of the field. There's a pretty big space in front of us here behind Andrew Battaglia, but
oh wow,
the scrum is won. Adolphus looked like he was going over for his third.
Being called back here, Brian.
Instead, scrum will come back. Looked like Aruna Ranawira, the referee, saying the ball went straight out of the tunnel. In order for the ball to be played, Colin, just walk us through that technicality. Where does the ball have to come back through a scrum?
The ball goes in from the scrum half into the scrum. The hooker feeds it back through the scrum, through the feet, out to the back of the scrum. If it pops out straight the tunnel between the two scrums, then it comes back for a reset scrum.
And got to be handled by either 6, 7, or 8 if it's coming back through the back. Staunch defense so far by Cal. Central Washington looking to make something happen. Andrew Nelson, wearing the number 9 jersey for the Wildcats, will have the feed.
Yeah, Bijan lining up flat here. He's not in the pocket at all. They're looking to run this ball.
No, they've even got the blindside winger coming across. And a knock on by Central Washington. Looked like Cal had disrupted that scrum. It gotten the wheel going. Wildcats had something on, a little bit of a move a peel off of the back, but it doesn't go to hand, instead goes to ground.
Something could have happened there. Bosco giving Nelson quite a bit of a shove there at the back end of the scrum.
Split backs here. Colin, midfield scrum. What's your favorite move?
Oh, it's coming right normally. Bosco running around to the right. Attack weak side with Anderson and Battaglia. That'd be my option.
So Nelson with the ball, penalty to Central Washington. Nelson's going to put it into touch. So first time they get a chance to use the wind, and Nelson decides that's the option. And it's a good option for Central Washington.
Great ball. But then again, Brian, you really get the ball into a line-out scenario here, and you've got to nail the throw.
Gavin Shagg, the hooker for this Central Washington team, has really struggled, to say the least. Shagg once again with the throw, and again stolen by Cal. The ball just low. First miscommunication we've seen, I think, all day from the back line of Cal, but Anderson cleans it up. Battaglia on the chase. Scott Dean tries to find a handle, looks for a gap. Great tackle by Seamus Kelly. Tanner Barnes. Gambari digs it out, but not a clean ball. Goes to Shermer. Oh, and a great counter ruck by Cal. Bosco looking for help. Goes to Seamus Kelly. Runs straight into two defenders. They try to hold him up.
Siemens has that turnover.
Yeah, ball stolen from Seamus Kelly. Good play by Zach Siemens. Clint Lemkus, the dummy from the big prop, goes out to Barnes. Barnes, a great set of hands by Vili Tolata'u. Nelson, numbers on the corner. You can see Central Washington. You can hear him from here, calling from the ball. Gambari out to Shermer. Another big hit by Seamus Kelly. Andrew Nelson goes to the prop. Josh Bauer takes a rumble. Number 4, Hobie Sisk.
Oh.
No advantage, says the referee. He was calling a penalty. He had his arm up for not releasing the tackled player.
Central Washington looking to take it into tackle there, into contact. When it looked like they had numbers out wide. They really did not need to spoil that good possession. They need to get it through their hands and look to attack the corners if that's what Cal's giving them.
Nelson with the touch finder, and it's a good kick. And again, you know, it's the struggle so far that we've seen in this line out, Colin. You got to use the wind, so you got to go to the touch line. You got to go to your line out. But we've seen Gavin Shagg over and over again, underthrowing, overthrowing, just not hitting his target. Credit the Cal line out for giving him problems, but he's really missed his throws. And once again, ball not high enough. Central Washington's lucky to get away with one. Ball out of the back, but it's knocked forward. Aruna Ranawira, referee, says ball knocked forward first by the University of California. So ball stays in the hands of Central Washington. They're knocking on the door. They're inside of 10 meters.
This is what you want to do if you're Central Washington. Get down into Cal territory. Try to eke out some points here and get your momentum going. This is what they need to do.
And I'd say if you're Central Washington, not only do you have to be the first to score, but you got to score the first few here to stay in it. Tanner Barnes. A move that kind of goes nowhere with Bauer. Bauer sets it back. Nelson. Tolata'u takes a run. A great leg tackle there by Bosco. Looks like Central's playing with a little bit more confidence, except the ball gets knocked forward and Cal's turned it over. Well, Ranawira with a different view, down on the field a lot closer, calls a knock on against the Golden Bears, so it'll be Central Washington with the put in once again.
Yeah, Brian, you called on that strike move, really not going anywhere. Central Washington really needs to put a knife into the Cal defense on that first phase to get some go forward for a good second phase opportunity.
It looks like some of the midfield moves that they're doing, they're stacking up their players and they're really not spreading out any Cal defenders. If you run a bunch of guys into the same channel, you leave a lot of defenders there to make the tackle. The battle of the brawn up front here. Cal has had to do some experimenting in the front row, has lost a few key players. Pick up off the back. Bosco out to Kelly. Kelly to Anderson. Good quick hands to Battaglia. Tries to find space on the corner. Bottled up by Tanner Barnes. Ball coming out the back. Looked like Bosco was on the ground when he played the ball, but Ron O'Weara lets him play it anyways. Alec Gletzer off the back. Some good defense there by Central Washington.
Great hit.
Looks like George Vrame, big number 3.
Kyle was lucky to get that ball back on the corner there.
Assistant referee with his flag up. Try to eavesdrop on this one. Well, there's a discussion about something happening inside the tackle area. Ron O'Weara getting some of the skinny from the touch line there. A penalty.
It looks like he caught Bosco for playing that ball on the deck.
Yeah, and it's a good call. I mean, Bosco was on his knees when he grabbed the ball, and it's a no-no. Rugby, you got to play it. Play the game on your feet. So Central, once again, it's the double-edged sword. You get the ball, you kick it into touch, but now you got to have a line-out throw.
Right, in my opinion, they have to stick with the line-out jump in the front of the line-out, not try to go deep and really beat them up into the air.
The deep throw. And over the back once again. Boy, Tony Pacheco's got to be scratching his head. I'd say he was pulling his hair out, but he doesn't have any. Seamus Kelly almost breaking through.
Kyle has numbers over on the right side here.
And a penalty going against Central Washington. Off their feet in the tackle area, not rolling away, and so into the wind goes Cal with the ball and the penalty. Harry Adolphus out of the Cranley School in the UK. Been a great little addition for this Cal Bears team. Has played some fly half this year. Has also played on the wing and fullback for Jake Anderson. Remember, Nike California Varsity Rugby Camp coming up this summer. Boys ages 14 to 18 from July 28th to the 31st. And then the younger kids, 9 to 14-year-olds on August 2nd. Go to calbears.com/camps. Throw in. Tanner Moore. He gets one poached. Jacob Bates off the back looking for support, or maybe should have been looking for support, doesn't.
Lucky to get that one back.
Some numbers on the right. Bauer looking for help. Well, that's the story of Central Washington's day. They've got an opportunity. They've got a number advantage on the corner, and the ball spills 3 different ways before it finally rolls into touch.
Cal goes quick.
So a scrum from the knock-on. Bosco will feed the ball for the Cal Bears. Haven't seen any scoring so far. Colin, are you surprised by that?
No, it's been the tail of the wind, really. Central's had the opportunity in Cal's half. They just haven't converted. Cal's struggling to get within Central Washington's half because of this wind factor.
Ball stolen from the Cal, put in by Central Washington. One of the few things going right for Central Washington today is the scrum. Anderson, cool-headed at the back, takes a run, looking for support. Instead keeps it. The dummy, he's got numbers.
Oh.
Support. Cool hand Luke, look at him go. Tion
no.
Donation though gets drilled by Toleta'u, and that's the second time he's been lit up by the number 7. The Hawaiian-born Vili Toleta'u spent some time growing up in Tonga.
That's the second time Tion has absolutely hitting the numbers there and putting on his back.
I think
he's feeling it.
Hard time finding the 0-2. But he soldiers on. Denation really been the anchor man at the back of that Cal scrum all year long. And a penalty. Not pushing straight. Scott Walsh blamed for the infraction. Aladdin Shermer looking for support. Gletzer makes the tackle, gets up and makes the second tackle. And boy, you talk to Jack Clark about Alec Gletzer wearing the number 7 for this Cal Bear team, and he just can't say enough.
Oh, Dean getting some space.
The switch back inside, a good little play to Bauer, but it's bottled up nicely. Adolphus in on the tackle.
Well, they're all offsides.
Central Washington on the drive. The ball is held up though. It's got to find its way to the ground or it's going to go back to Cal. Tanner Barnes, the chip through. Under pressure is Adolphus. He goes to ground. Barnes is there. Big kick out of the back, fielded quickly by Anderson. Nice little piece of work there by Bosco.
I love what Central Washington was doing there. Instead of kicking the ball to a well-seasoned Jake Anderson just waiting in the back, they decided to keep the ball in hand and run some dangerous phases at the Cal attack on the outside. They kept the ball instead of just kicking it back to Jake Anderson, who's been doing an amazing job in the back 3.
They got some pretty good bodies in the back line. Tanner Barnes, Zach Siemens, Chandler Jenkins, Josh Bauer, and all of these guys can run into space. And they got to be a little bit more adventurous with the ball in hand. That ball not thrown straight. Surprise, surprise. The line out once again.
Again, if you're Central Washington, you try to avoid the line out throw or at least get it to the front, try to win a ball that you have to put to touch. This win is just making that ball go every which way. The only way you can mitigate that is by getting it quick into the front, short throw to your jumper.
Cal lucky to get that ball. It's cleaned up nicely. Slow ball at the back. Russell Webb pats himself on the head. See what that means momentarily. It means box kick.
Not what he wanted there.
No, and you know, the wind just playing havoc there. A left foot off of the boot of Webb. So we'll have a scrum. And it looks like warming up for the Cal Bears. Right below us, Chris Fry. Long tradition here, the Fry brothers in California. We'll see if he makes his way onto the field. In the meantime, scrum going to Cal. Well, this is not the way you want things to go. Central Washington got to put some points on the board. Instead, the game is kind of slowed down. That rhythm that Cal had, and maybe it was the wind calling, seems to have gone away. No points on the board so far. We're almost 20 minutes into this second half.
You look at the territory in the two halves. Central Washington's definitely had possession in Cal's half. They just haven't converted into points. Little miscues on lineouts, you know, is a big determining factor in getting in the end and getting the ball.
Once again, pressure by Central Washington in the scrum. Looks like they've stolen the ball. Digging the ball out is Aladdin Shermer. Quickly to Josh Bauer with the ball. Over the 22. Central Washington trying to draw first blood in the second half. Nelson digs it out. Gambari out to Tanner Barnes. Looks for space. Instead skips it out to Scott Dean. Dean has a pass out of hand. Chandler Jenkins, he's got some wheels, but he's bottled up by number 14, Andrew Battaglia.
Great counter.
Great counter ruck there. Number 1, Scott Walsh on the rumble. Walsh, and now Seamus Kelly looking for a gap. Go forward. Bosco digs it out. Jake Anderson, big pass out to Donation. And then the big rumble from Tanner Moore out to Adolphus. He puts down the chip kick, and that is going to be a penalty at least. Might draw a yellow card. Clearly, Harry Adolphus taken out way after the kick, and Aruna Ranawira is going to have some words with one of the players from Central Washington. The touch flag is out from the assistant referee.
Harry putting up his hands in frustration there. Felt like he could have gotten that ball for a try if he wasn't taken out.
Well, the two referees, I think the only thing to discuss right now is whether it's a penalty or whether it's a penalty and a yellow card.
It'd be a shame for Central Washington to get a yellow card right now. They've definitely been in Cal's territory, but a yellow card here at this stage, they need all the men that they can get to battle against this scoreline.
We'll chalk that up to frustration.
Yeah, you would think, Brian.
Nothing going right the way of Central Washington today. And how hard is it to hold back when you got an open shot on a guy like Adolphus? If you are Central Washington, take some composure.
It's those mental mistakes that have been plaguing the Central Washington team from the beginning. That composure here at this stage, this setting at Witter Rugby Field against Cal. You must maintain your composure.
The captain, Tanner Barnes, coming over for a chat.
Still waiting here. Looks like a Central Washington player down, getting his boot attended to. Ranawira talking to Seamus Kelly, the captain.
Remember, the Collegiate Rugby Championships coming back to PPL Park in Philadelphia on May 31st. It'll be televised on NBC Sports Network and NBC. For ticket information, visit calrugby.com.
On to Witter Rugby Field for his final time, replacing Tanner Moore, coming off Witter Rugby Field for his final time. Chris Fry replacing George Brain. Alex Bowman coming on to Witter Rugby Field for his final time for Tomas Regina.
Well, some legends from Cal. Tanner Moore wearing the number 2 jersey, coming off the field. His last time. Big hug for Jack Clark and for Tommy Billups. And on the field, Jack O'Byrne is going to go to hooker. Also a senior, playing in his last match here in Strawberry Canyon. Chris Fry, one of the Fry brothers, going on for George Frame. And Alex Bowman takes Thomas Zerbino.
Alex Bowman last game here as well. Big lock. Let's hopefully he can get a handle on this line out here.
Good throw. Ball at the back. Cal trying to get a little bit of a rumble. The maul starts to go forward. Bosco commanding from the back. Nice little drive by those Cal forwards. Ball caught up, not coming out.
You see how Cal's able to handle that line out, unlike Central Washington. They're sticking to a front jump line out where the hooker is just putting a laser into the jumper's hands. That's what you got to do in these conditions.
And you get a feeling that Central Washington's really tried to be a little bit too fancy with their line out, try to be a little too tricky to catch Cal wrong-footed, but their line outs haven't gone their way. So Cal kind of back to basics, more of the simple, the front throw, as you said.
Seems like Cal's been just playing a clinical game of rugby here today. Back to the basics, doing what they know, what works well.
Alec Gletzer, first one on scene. Like we've seen so many times, the penalty off their feet, going quickly.
Looks like it may be over.
Over the line
Try, California.
for Cal.
Try scored by Jack O'Byrne for California.
Jack O'Byrne. So O'Byrne on the field for about, I don't know, a minute, scores his first try. O'Byrne, we've seen him playing flanker all year for this team. Got a little bit of a knock in the last game at Brentwood up at UCLA.
What a gift that is to come in at the end of this game, semifinal, last game here on Witter, and get a try to boot. He's got to be a happy camper.
Also coming onto the field for their last run around on the park here in Berkeley, Brad Harrington coming in for Anthony Saliber. He'll team up with Seamus Kelly in the centers.
Harrington, one of those players who can have sublime moments of rugby. I'm excited to see him come on and see what he can add to this Cal attack, finishing up this match against Central Washington here.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, Colin, but Jake Anderson has missed a kick.
It's that win, Brian. He had it at his back the first half. I think he was perfect in the first half. You know, he's able to miss one or two.
So Harrington in to pair with Seamus Kelly in the centers. Harrington, kind of a laid-back cat. What do you think about the way you've seen him play so far this year and throughout his career here at Cal?
I think Harrington's a very gifted rugby player who can have some pretty impressive moments of just rugby IQ.
Well, it looked like a knock-on by Gletzer. Bring it back for a scrum to Central Washington.
Central Washington looking a little quiet here. Look like they need to win this scrum and get a good attacking platform. Really try to use their hands a bit more. They have to be a bit more adventurous here if they're going to look to get on the scoreboard. I think at this point, Brian, you're really looking to end the game well. Have a few good rugby moments that you can hang your hat on at the end of this game.
Absolutely. Well, and I also think, you know, Colin, if we look back at this game and some of those comments that head coach Tony Pacheco had said before, kind of revealing about the quality of opposition that Central Washington has faced throughout the year, and you wonder how their fortunes would fare if they had better opposition, the likes of Cal, maybe some of those Canadian teams that they could play. I know that they play against the club side, Old Puget Sound, as much as they can to get some bigger hits, some quality opposition.
You can't replicate the emotion and intensity of a big game. You just have to play in big games to get that experience. I think Central Washington would do better as a team if they had more of those moments under their belt.
So Central with the put-in. Trying to get something good going.
Got to go quick here.
Free kick, an early push by the Cal pack. Lemkus.
Let's use the ball, Central.
Inside the 22. Corbin Lindell, the sophomore, 230 pounds, running straight at those blue and gold hoops. Nelson digs it out of the back. Gambari looking for options. Tanner Barnes looking to break a tackle. Can't do it. Seamus Kelly has him wrapped up. Nelson again, he's got Siemens outside of him. He pops it. Shifty little runner. Siemens does a good job to avoid a few tackles, but the Cal defenders are there.
Still on his
Out
feet.
to the right. Siemens still on his feet. Numbers on the right for Central Washington. Can they get the ball out? Few quick passes would do it. Instead, all of the support comes inside.
Oh.
And the knock on by Lindell, and that will end the run. Although Ronaweer's got his hand up. Offsides against Cal. 12 minutes and some change.
Central Washington really needs a sense of urgency here.
Well, you wonder why the quick tap's not coming. They're going to go to their line out, and I wonder why. You know, maybe it's a numbers thing. Eventually, one of these line outs has to go right? Maybe it's this one. Gavin Shagg. will try to do what he has been unable to all day, and that is put a laser into the hands of his line-out jumper. And once again, it goes poorly.
You know, Brian, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different results.
Yeah, and you could say then that the approach to their penalties has been insane.
For his final time, Tion Denetian.
Connor Sweet out of Xavier High School coming on for Tion Denetian. Tion Denetian making his last appearance on Witter.
Good to see Tion jogging off after the few hits he's taken today, Brian. Got a smile on his face, getting a hug from the coaches. It's a proud moment.
I tell you what, the prize though for these guys and their performance today is that they're going to get to play another game together next week, and they won't be able to do it on Witter Rugby Field. But next week, with everything on the line, they're going to take a trip to Salt Lake City.
Finally, we have a line-out throw to the front, keeping it on the ground.
Lemkus.
Oh, big Bowman.
Huge hit by Bowen.
Nice pop, Bowman. Wow. Getting a little pump-up hit there from Gletzer.
Knock on there. I'll tell you what, you know, some of the names we haven't mentioned today have been doing the hard yards, the dirty work for this Cal forward pack. Guys like Nick Saliber, the junior from Dixon, California. And he's had a quiet game, but he's been in the right place at the right time, and he's been putting his shoulders in and making some big hits.
He's really been in the engine room doing the dirty work, getting down there, hitting the rucks, making sure you maintain possession. Here comes Seamus.
Well, there'll be a standing ovation here at Witter because Seamus Kelly is coming off the field, and the three-time captain for this Cal Bear team has taken his last run on Witter. And I talked to his parents earlier, Janine and John, and they were pretty emotional about being here for the last time, especially John. Battaglia, straight forward. Number 4, James Conrad, one of the guys in the engine room today. We haven't called his number a whole lot, but he's just been doing the right thing, and he's one of those guys. Conrad, he's from Xavier as well, and one of the players in that Xavier pipeline that really broke open when Seamus Kelly decided to come here, and now there's 5 players from Xavier on this team. Sweet, Conrad, among the Xavier players. Bosco giving Nelson a headache today. Oh, the ball just goes behind the hands of Harry Adolphus, turned over in the knock-on. Tanner Barnes says, "I'm not done playing rugby yet." A rumble. Nice job of keeping that ball in play by Central Washington. Vili Tolitau goes to Lemkus.
They have an overlap here.
And they decide to go to number 3. That is Corbin Lindell. Tanner Barnes looking for space, but throws a dart into the ankles of number 4, Hobie Sisk. Not a kind pass. We've called it the sympathetic pass, and that was not one.
Tanner not going to really like that service he gave there. I really think he's got a better pass in him.
Well, for those of you who are waiting on a score from Salt Lake City, BYU 60, Navy 0 today in the other semifinal.
Woo. That's
With
a big score.
7 minutes left in this contest, it will be Cal. They will get a chance to avenge their final loss from last year.
It seems like time and time again, BYU and Cal finding each other at the end of the season in a classic matchup between two collegiate powerhouses.
Well, throughout the years, they've been the two best teams in this country. Cal, 26 national titles. BYU's got 3. There have only been 34, so you do the math, Colin. It will be a clash of the Titans.
Certainly Cal right now with a lot of substitutes on are really going to want to try to end this game well. If anything were to happen next game, they're going to want to make sure they have a reserve grade ready to contribute as soon as they come off the bench. So don't expect any kind of drop off here from the Cal team.
Talking to Coach Clark this week, you know, the story of this team, as we mentioned it before, has been some injuries. And they've been both orthopedic injuries, and they've also been the kind of culture-building injuries, the type of rally around the team injuries, some real medical concerns, a cancer scare, a heart condition, things and those aren't for players that are on the second or third team. Those have been some of the players who get starting jobs for this Cal Bear team, and they've really had to rally. As mentioned before, there's only 2/3 of this team that's been intact since the last time we were here. So they've had to make do with their athletes. And it looks like the wheels are really spinning in the right motion right now. As it looks like Dean tries to go over. He will.
He gets it.
Try, Central Washington.
Hats off to Central. They're still playing rugby.
Scott Dean, the fullback.
There's good hands there by Siemens, getting through and getting his hands free to get the ball to Dean to score in the corner.
And they've been so rare, these opportunities for Central with the ball in hand to just express themselves.
I feel like Central's been in Cal's territory quite a bit in the second half. They just really haven't been able to convert, and I think a lot of it's been due to not being able to handle the line-out throw. I don't know how many turnovers they've had trying to get that ball to the back, but we saw recently they did that short ball to the front, maybe just a little too late. Didn't change up their tactics early enough to deal with this wind here, Brian.
And if it could go wrong in the line-out for Central, it has. And you know, it's not all Gavin Shagg. That line-out has to operate as a well-oiled machine. The lifter's got to get it right, the jumper's got to get it right, all the pods have to be in the right place, and then the throw comes, and that combination has really been adrift today for Central Washington.
Absolutely, you have to adapt to the call as well. The team has to get around, like, what's going on, what's happening, this isn't working, what do we got to do to make sure we win this ball? I don't know if that conversation was happening with Central Washington.
Adolphus kicks it off.
Ball's not going to touch. Jake Anderson back there to reclaim it. He's looking to size it up for the touch line. Right about halfway. All right, if you're Central there, I think you'd want to keep the ball in hand here and have some more rugby moments just to end your season on.
Hey, you got 3 minutes. You might as well spin it and
have
a go. There have been some special moments today. They've come few and far between for Central Washington, and mostly because Cal's really dominated the tempo of this game. But you really got to like the way guys like Shermer and Vili Tolotau have been playing. Some strong running by Tanner Barnes, but he just hasn't found space. Credit the defense of California. Some good moments in the scrum. You know, you can hang your hat on some of these things and go forward. This Central Washington rugby team is one of the few in the country that have a varsity program now, and that was just granted to them this year. In fact, their athletic director, Dennis Francois, is here today to look at the sport and to see. And I think when he looks around at this Cal campus and he sees the crowd that's on hand to see what this Cal Bear rugby team can do and how the sport is appreciated by these fans, he'll be confirmed in his decision to allow that varsity status.
It's a huge step for any rugby program, getting that varsity status. Central Washington has a lot to look forward to in terms of building their program, getting here to the semifinals. It's no small feat in and itself. But going against Cal, you just can't make as many mental mistakes as you did here in the first half and capitalizing the second half.
So Jack O'Byrne grinding forward. Chris Fry cleans it up. Russell Webb drills one down. A big, long grubber kick. Adolphus on the chase. Good double tackle there by Cal. This is one of those moments where you might want to pump the ball downfield if you're Central Washington. Max Naruski, the former starting fly half for Central Washington in the game, wearing number 21. Central trying to grind through a few phases. Ball turned over. Bosco, open field. Gletzer, he's got a man outside.
Oh.
He's going to take it himself.
Oh.
And Gletzer.
Happy to see him dot it down, huh, Brian?
California.
He is just the absolute workhorse in this forward pack. Wow.
Jack Clark talking about Alec Gletzer earlier in the week, and he said there's two guys on the field, Seamus Kelly and Alec Gletzer, and as long as those two are on the park for Cal, they're never out of a contest.
He's just that warrior that you need in your back row. He's going to be there. He's the first person to make that big hit, first person over the ball, and you just got to have that workman mentality. He's gotten spades, and I'm really happy to see him get under the sticks right now and get that recognition for his hard work today.
Gletzer's a great story, an All-American, and he's got a lot of rugby left in him. Out of Santa Barbara City College, and he was a football player. He wanted to go into college to play football, but things didn't go his way. He started playing rugby for Kevin Battle in Santa Barbara, and the next thing you know, he's on Cal's radar. And what a pickup for this Cal Bear rugby team, Alec Gletzer. And that is going to do it here at Witter Rugby Field, where the final score, University of California Golden Bears 58, Central Washington 14.
California advances to the Varsity
We'll be right back.
National Senior Rugby Championship.
Back here at Witter Rugby Field in Strawberry Canyon, the home of the Cal Bears rugby team. And California putting on a show today, 58-14, and in the Wasatch Mountains, another clinic being put on by BYU, taking down Navy 60-0 to set up a rematch between two of the most vaunted rugby programs in collegiate history here in America. And BYU has got some weapons. California kind of the expected winner coming in, but boy, did they put on a show today. Down on the field, we've got Colin Hawley. He's got the head coach of the Cal Bears. Jack Clark will send it down to Colin.
Coach Clark, great victory here over Central Washington. Put in a great clinical performance, in my opinion. How do you feel the game went?
Yeah, we had a lot of shape to what we did, and you know they're a really physical forward team, so we had to play well in the forwards, and I think we kind of played well-ish, and that was good enough. Really sad to see, you know, some seniors leave this program, and but it's a nice day in Strawberry Canyon.
So we got the score: BYU 60, Navy 0. Another one of the storied matchup between BYU and Cal. What do you feel Cal has to do in the next matchup?
Yeah, we're going to pray for miracles. They're very, very good, and you know we're coming on a little bit towards the end of the season with a lot of adversity. So I'm proud of our guys. Worry about next Saturday, but you know BYU's the best team in the country.
Thank you very much, Coach. Congratulations. Next up, we have here Captain Seamus Kelly. Last game on Witter Rugby Field, Captain, getting into the finals your senior year. How are you feeling after this win today?
Yeah, pretty happy with the effort today. I think the guys put in a strong performance and build on it this week. We got one more left.
What do you have to do? It's a BYU again, 60-0 against Navy. What do you feel this Cal team has to do to win a championship in the Varsity Cup?
Yeah, I think BYU's got one of their strongest teams. A lot of good athletes on the field there. So, you know, we're gonna have to have a good week of training. We're gonna have to shore up some of the mistakes we made this week and just keep building on the foundation that's got us here.
Congratulations, Seamus. Saw you got into the sticks. Great diving try. Congratulations. Go celebrate with your team, man. Thank you very much. Back up to you, Brian.
Well, that'll do it for us here at Witter Rugby Field in the University of California. Cal, once again, 58, taking down Central Washington. Only 14 points on the day. And next week, the Varsity Cup National Rugby Championships between the University of California and the BYU Cougars. Join us then.